Okay, so guys, number 58. If you haven't already worked it, let's work it together. And if you have already worked it, then check your answer, but you can be working on something else. First off, do you remember how to find the multiplicative inverse? Okay, because guys, right quick, I'm just going to look at this problem right here to kind of remind you. When you have a system, what you do is you rewrite it as an equation. And you don't have to do this part. I'm just showing you. What we're doing is we're solving this system by multiplying this by its inverse, which basically cancels it out, just like solving this little equation right here. 2x equals 7 by multiplying by the multiplicative inverse of 2 is 1/2. I get rid of the 2. So I'm trying to get rid of this so that I'm only dealing with xy, and that gives me the solution over here. So the multiplicative inverse is found by multiplying 1 over the determinant times the adjugate. And I'm going to leave this up here for a second if you need to write that down. I don't know that there's enough space on here for all of that, so you might want to, I don't know, put that on a separate piece of paper or whatever you think you'll have space for. The adjugate is just where we switch A and D, and then we change the sign of B and C. Do you remember that? And then the determinant is where you multiply A times D, and then you subtract B times C. And if you multiply 1 over the determinant times the adjugate, and then you multiply that times the side, or that times the right-hand side of the matrix equation, then you're good. Okay. I will put that back up there, but I'm going to go ahead and start. I can show it later, but let me go ahead and work it. All right, so the equation is, what is the matrix that we're dealing with? What do you think, guys? What goes in here? 8, 1, 2n, -6 times xy equals, good, -17, 2. So I need to find the multiplicative inverse of that matrix right there, right? So I need to find the determinant. So let's find the determinant. And how do I do that? You're talking about the adjugate, right? Okay, so the determinant is I multiply 8 times a -6, so that times that, minus that times that, 1 times 2. Yeah? 8 times -6 minus 1 times 2, and that's the determinant. What is 8 times a -6? -48 minus 2 is -50. Okay, so my determinant is -50. My adjugate is going to be, and now what do I do with 8 and -6? Okay, -6 and +8, and what happens to the 1 and 2? Good, we switch the signs. Okay, now I'm going to multiply 1 over the determinant, which is 1 over -50, times -6, -1, -2, and 8. Do I simplify with the 50? Like if I have 6 over 50, am I going to simplify that fraction? I mean, you can, and sometimes it works out pretty nicely. But in general, if we just leave it, you don't have to worry about common denominators later on if one doesn't. So when I multiply -1/50 times -6, what do I get? Good, 6 over 50, positive, negative times a negative. -1/50 times -1 is a positive 1/50. -1/50 times -2 is a positive 2/50. And -1/50 times 8 is a negative 8/50. And then we're going to multiply all that times what? Good, -17 and 2. Okay, so how do I multiply matrices? What's the operation? What's the order? Okay, row by column. So I'm going to multiply this row by this column. 6 times 17 is 6 times 10, which is 60, plus 6 times 7, which is 42, so 102. Is that what I got? So -102 over 50 Remember that a 2 by 2 times a 2 by 1 is a what? 2 by 1. So I've got 2 rows, 1 column. I don't leave myself much space, but oh well. So 6/50ths times negative 17 is negative 102/50ths. And then 1/50th times 2 is 2/50ths. What's negative 102 plus 2? Negative 100. What is negative 100 divided by 50? Negative 2. So I already know that my x value is negative 2. Okay. Now let's do this one. Row by column. I've got the bottom row times this column. What's 2 times negative 17? Negative 34? Is that right? Negative 34/50ths plus, what is negative 8 times 2? Negative 16/50ths. What's negative 34/50ths minus 16/50ths? Okay. So there we go. My final answer is going to be the coordinate point negative 2, negative 1. But without the work. So that would probably be on a calculator question, but as far as the work, I'd have to see that to get full credit. Okay? All right. Y'all could be working on your review. Okay, so let's go to number 59. I've got y is less than x plus 3 quantity squared minus 5. So what does that mean? What do I do here? Okay, to the left 3, down 5. What kind of graph is this going to be? A parabola, good. What's the pattern for parabolas? 1, 1, 4, 2, 9, 3, or 2, 4, and 3, 9? Okay, so remember x squared, right? So if there was a 4 right here, it would be 4 squared, which is 16. So it's 2, 4, 3, 9. So just remember that the radical is the elongated graph, and the parabola is the taller graph. So that's why they go taller vertically as opposed to horizontally. Okay? All right. And if you were unsure, you could always just plug in numbers in for x and see if you can find the y values. All right, so I'm going to go, wait, is there a vertical stretch or compression or anything like that on this graph? No, because there's just a 1 in the front. So I'm going to go to the right one and go up 1, and I do the same on the left side. And then I go to the right 2 and go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Same on the other side. And then I go to the right 3 and up 9. Up 9 from negative 5 is positive 4. So I'm at 0 positive 4 and negative 6 positive 4. Am I going to be able to see the next point on there? No. Okay. It says y is less than. When it says less than, then we're talking about inequalities. We're talking about shading. So, what do I do? From the curve, right, I'm going to draw arrows. Is this a solid or a dotted line? Yeah, someone just said dotted. So, I'm going to draw a dotted line connecting the parabola, or the points. And then because it says less than, I'm going to draw arrows pointing below the parabola, yeah? Okay, now it says y has got to be what? Okay, so y has got to be greater than or equal to negative 2. If you go to the y-axis and you go down to negative 2, when I point to the y-axis, I'm drawing a horizontal line with the pen. You know what I mean? When I point to the x-axis, like going to a number, I'm drawing a vertical line. But when I point to a number on the y-axis, it's a horizontal line. And that is how we draw it. Solid or dotted? Solid through negative 2. And it says greater than or equal to, so where I draw the arrows? Up. So do we know the region? It is everything enclosed. Well, actually, below the parabola but above the line, right? So below the parabola but above the line. So all of this area. Is there any other area on the other side? Okay, so on number 60, what kind of function is the first one? Linear or quadratic? Quadratic. What about the next one? Linear. And the next one? Quadratic. Okay, so this first one, it says negative 2x squared plus 8. Keep in mind that that's the same thing as saying negative 2 times x plus 0 squared plus 8, yeah? Does that mean, do I move left or right any? No. Do I move up or down any? And then what does the negative do? Right, so instead of being a parabola that points up, and now it goes down, right? So I basically started off with a parabola. I didn't go left or right any. I multiplied it by a negative 2. The 2 made it skinnier. The negative made it flip over. And then up 8 made it go up here at 8 and go point down. So I'm going to go up to 8 and put my point. Now for this graph right here, for negative 2x squared plus 8, the pattern is to the right and up or down? Down. So to the right, 1, down. I'm going to go ahead and do the normal pattern, 2, 4, 3, 9. But the 2 is a vertical stretch, so I have to multiply all the verticals by 2. So I'm going to go to the right one and go down 2, and left one and go down 2. I'm going to go to the right 2 and go down how many? 8, so that puts me at 0. Am I going to be able to see 18? Nope. So I just need to do the best I can. Solid or dotted line? Because I know the next point is 18, I know it's not, I can't go past the x equals 3. Yeah? So, what does the inequality mean? Or say? So my arrows are pointing up. Okay, so outside the parabola. Gentlemen. Okay, so now I have this linear function right here. 2x minus 3y is less than 12. What am I going to do? Wait 1 second. What are we laughing about? Is it... Oh my gosh. Okay, what do I do to solve for y? What do I do to solve for y? Okay, so subtract 2x. So negative 3y is less than negative 2x plus 12. Now what do I do? And I do that by dividing, right? If you divide by a negative 3, what's up? Or a negative, yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. If you went back, so you can go back somewhere. Okay, no. Alright. Should be fun. Alright, so we divide by negative 3. Is there anything I need to think about? Right, when you divide by a negative, it flips the inequality. So this becomes y is now greater than 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, 2/3 x minus 4, so y-intercept is negative 4. What's my slope? 2/3. So up 2 over 3. Up 2 over 3. And down 2 to the left 3. 1, 2, 3. Solid or dotted line? Dotted. Arrows pointing up or down? Up. So I need to be outside the parabola, but above that line. And then I have this last parabola to graph. So 1/4 x minus 3 minus 5. So what does the minus 3 make me do? Move to the right 3. What is the minus 5? Okay, so down, the vertex is down at 3, -5. What does the 1/4 make me do? So vertical compression. So it is still going up because there's not a negative in the front. So 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. I'm going to go ahead and do 4, 16. And I might even need more, but what am I going to multiply all the vertical heights by? 1/4. So this becomes 0.25. I'll go ahead and do that. 4 becomes what? 1. 9 becomes 2.25. 4 goes into 9 twice with 1 remaining, so 1 out of 4, so 2.25. What's a fourth of 16? 4. So I'm going to go to the right 1 and only up a fourth, which is really small, so just really close right there. I'm going to go to the right 2 and go up how much? 1. I'm going to go to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, and go up 2.25, so 1, 2, 2.25. I'm going to go to the right 4 and go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not enough, which means I'm going to need to go again. So I would go to the right 5 and up 25. What's a fourth of 25? 4 goes into 25 how many times? 6 with 1 remainder, so 6.25. So I'm going to go to the right 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go up 6.25. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.25. And same over there. I think I'm going to need to keep going, yeah? So I can see what's going on. So I would go to the right 6 and up 36, but what's a fourth of 36? 9. So I'm going to go over and go up 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 9 up from -5 is +4. I'm going to do one more just for giggles. 7, this is 49. How many times is 4 going to 49? 12 times, right? With 1 left over, 48, right? So 48.2, so 12.25. So if I go over 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up 12.25, -5 plus 12.25 is 7.25, so I'm right here. Well, that's fun. Okay, solid or dotted line? Solid. Arrows are up. So above this parabola and above that line. So what do y'all think? It's kind of a weird space, huh? I mean, if you think about it, it's got to be above that line, right? So if you cover that up, it can't be, it's got to be outside the parabola, and it's got to be greater than that line. So I've got this region up here, and then I've got this region right here. Okay, let's go to 61. Okay, so find the inverse of each function, find the domain and range of the original and its inverse on numbers 61 through 63. 61 and 63. So 62 and 64, you don't need to find domain and range. So, have y'all done these problems? These right here? You might just go ahead and watch and do them with me, and then you can always watch the video. Alright, so can we go ahead and sketch this function to find the domain and range? Okay, so I'm just going to quick sketch. Where does the -5 make me go? And then what is +4? So it's a radical, the 2, does it make it, what does the 2 on the outside do? Vertical stretch, so does it move the location or just change the shape? Okay, so it looks something like that, yeah? Let's go ahead and find domain and range. What's the domain? Okay, and the range? Okay. So domain is 5 to infinity and range is 4 to infinity. Now I need to find the inverse and find its domain and range. So I let that be y and switch x and y. X equals 2 times the square root of y minus 5 plus 4. And then I start solving for y. So what's the first thing you do? Yeah, subtract the 4 over. So x minus 4 equals 2 times the square root of y minus 5. Now what? Yeah, the 2 is outside the square root, so I've got to get rid of that first. You can either divide by 2 or you can multiply by what? 1/2. So I'm going to do that. Multiply both sides by 1/2. And I'm just going to leave it on the outside because it'll help me see the transformations. Although you don't have to. If you wrote 1/2 x minus 2, that would be perfectly fine. So I've got 1/2 times x minus 4 equals the square root of y minus 5. How do you undo a square root? Good. So we square this side and we square this side. Interesting. So if you wanted to simplify, you would square both this number and that number. What's 1/2 squared? 1/4. Because you square the 1 and you square the 2. And then this is x minus 4 squared. And that equals y minus 5. So what's the last thing? Add 5. So y inverse equals 1/4 x minus 4 quantity squared plus 5, comma. Why did I put a comma at the end? Exactly. The reflection of a half of a sideways parabola is not going to be a full upright parabola. So, do I already know that what the restriction is without having to graph it? Yeah, because I already know the domain and range. If you start with a radical, the domain and range of the inverse is just the inverse. So, domain is 5 to infinity, so what's that on my inverse? No, it's still 5 to infinity, but which is a domain and range? That's okay. It's domain there, so it's range here. What's the domain? And that tells me what my restriction is. X has got to be what? This says x has the domain of the parabola. It can only be from 4 to infinity, so the restriction is x has got to be greater than or equal to 4. Okay? Now if you sketch this, it's a parabola shifted to the right 4 up 5. So right 4 up 5 puts me right here. And it looks like this. And then the other side would be on over there. But it makes sense that that can't be the reflection. So it's just this half. Okay? So 62, all we got to do is find the inverse. Okay. Rewrite it. Y equals x minus 2 cubed. First step is to switch the x and the y. X equals y minus 2 cubed. So how do you undo the power of 3? Cubed root. Good. So I cubed root this and I cubed root that. Those cancel out and I'm left with the cubed root of x equals y minus 2. And then the next step? Plus 2. So the cubed root of x plus 2 equals y inverse, and you're done. The reason why I'm not having you find domain and range on this is because it's all real numbers for both. For all 4, I should say. Okay, let's do number 63. So 63 is a full parabola, right? Okay, so y equals 4x squared minus 4. Does this move left or right any? If I go ahead and sketch it, it does not, because it doesn't have anything plus or minus inside with the x, right? Does it move up or down any? down 4, and the 4 in the front is a what? Vertical stretch. So if I look at the parabola, go ahead and sketch your parabola. Then I want to know my domain and range. So what is the domain of this parabola? Okay? That's okay. Negative infinity to positive infinity. We're going left to right or all real numbers. And then range. Good. Negative 4 to positive infinity. Now we need to find the inverse. X equals 4y squared minus 4. First step. Plus the 4. Next step. Divide by 4, or am I going to count it wrong if you divide by 4? No, if you write x plus 4 and then you divide it by 4, it's not like that's wrong. Because how do you get rid of a square? You square root. So as long as you put the square root over everything, it's fine. As long as you understand what that does, that 1/4 does. It's a little bit easier to go ahead and just leave it like that. So it is 1/4 x plus 4, which equals y squared. And we just said that in order to get rid of a square, we square root. How many answers do you get when you take a square root? 2, so plus or minus. So plus and minus the square root of 1/4 x plus 4 equals y inverse. I would not count you wrong if you said plus or minus the square root of 1/4 x plus 1 if you distribute plus 1. If you distribute the 1/4, that's perfectly fine. If you wrote it like that, that's perfectly fine as long as there's a plus and minus in the front. Okay? Now, we need to find domain and range. So that's why I like this one, because I can actually see the transformations. What does the plus 4 make me do? So I take my radical and I go left 4. And are there any other transformations? I mean, not location-wise, right? There's a horizontal stretch by a factor of 4, but that doesn't change location. So it still goes this way. That's the positive radical. And then below it, going like that, we have the negative radical. Yeah? Okay, so we need to find the domain and range for both. What's the domain in both cases? Farthest to the left it goes is negative 4. The farthest to the right it goes is infinity. So negative 4 to infinity. That was the range on my original, right? So it makes sense that it switches to my domain. All right, range. What's the range on the bottom function? So if you think about range is a vertical line, right? Negative infinity up to positive infinity. The bottom function goes from negative infinity all the way up until 0. And there you go. And they piece together to make all real numbers, which is the domain of the original. All right. Now, number 64. We don't have to do domain and range, right? We just got to find the inverse. So, if I let that be y, then x equals the 5th root of y plus 3 divided by 2. All right, first step. What's the inverse of the 5th root? The 5th power, right. So those cancel each other out, and I'm left with x to the 5th equals y plus 3 divided by 2. Now what do? Good. Multiply by 2. So 2x to the 5th equals y plus 3. Last step. Subtract 3. So 2x to the 5th minus 3 equals y inverse. Okay. Oh yeah, yes, thank you. What was 65? Negative 2 minus 7i? Okay. So what do I do? Guys? What do I multiply by? Good. The conjugate of the denominator, right? So, let's multiply. What's 3 times negative 2? What is 3 times 7i? Okay, what's 4i times negative 2? And what's 4i times 7i? Right. 4i times 7i is a positive 28i squared, but I squared is negative 1, so that is minus 28. And that simplifies to, what's negative 6 minus 28? And what's 21i minus 8i? 13i? Okay, so there's my numerator. And the denominator, positive 4, what's that going to be? Well, I'm not there yet. You're right. Negative 2 times 7i is negative 14i, but negative 7i times negative 2 is positive 14i. They'll always cancel out. Negative 7i times positive 7i is a negative 49i squared, which makes it positive 49. What's 49 plus 4? 53. They all have a 3 in them. Can I cancel the 3 out? No. I'm just kidding. I'm being stupid. No. Okay. They all 13's prime. 53. Oh, it's 53 prime? I think so. So, we're done.